Well, as you've heard, my name is Terry Weaver, and you are listening to another episode of the Making Elephants Fly podcast. And we got a return guest, one of my favorite humans on planet Earth. The fresh princess of email herself is with us. And today, as this is, if you don't know Liz Wilcox, the whole world is about to get to know Liz Wilcox as this episode is releasing. So whether they want to or not, the world is about to get a heaping spoonful of Liz. And I'm excited to talk about business, about a little television show that Liz is on, and just about how to design the life you want and do the things that matter the most to you. Liz, welcome back to the show.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Terry and friends. I am so excited.
Yeah, we are recording this on a Monday. You're the only person that I would, when your person scheduled it, my Calendly had availability much earlier in the day than I ever record a podcast. So I was like, it's Liz. I can get up for Liz.
Well, wake up. What y'all don't know is it's 1 p.m. Eastern. Well, I guess it's noon for Terry. So, okay. I mean, I get it.
I just don't do any podcast recording until after I've had lunch. That's just kind of
I appreciate
I'll break rules
you.
for you because you're the queen of breaking rules.
Amen. I love that. Well, thank you so much for having me. I hope to help some friends out today.
You know, I was looking back. My wife and I were talking. Leslie and I were talking about you, and I was like, "When did I first meet Liz?" And it was obviously at someone else's conference. You were working for another author, and you were doing virtual assistant work and personal assistant work, and you had kind of a side hustle, and you weren't life wasn't fantastic. I mean, you were existing.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way Terry presented that, because in my head, I didn't have a side hustle. I had a business that wasn't making any money, so my side hustle was working for this author to get kind of in. I remember when I got hired, they asked, Liz, your business is probably going to take off. It seems like you're doing pretty good. Why are you applying? And I said, well, I can't afford to hire you as my mentor. I can't afford your programs. But if you just hire me, I can get a behind the scenes look and see what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. And he said, you got a lot of gumption, girl. And they hired me.
Yeah, that's funny. And that's definitely something that you've always had. You always had some grit, some gumption, some sass. And I remember, fast forward a few months later, I remember you traipsing into the Thing conference in Orlando, Florida, complaining about how cold it was in the room, wearing your American flag sweater, and at that point, I don't remember if you were still even doing the VA stuff. You were trying, you were literally Chris Farley for a moment. You were living in a van down by the river, or maybe not by a river, probably by a swamp.
That's the name of the episode that I was on previously. Go check it out.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, I love Farley. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
But here you are. You have an RV business. Essentially, you had just written a book talking about what to do with your crap from an RV, and you were sort of, I would say you were doing well, but you were also sort of you were uneasy. You were ready for what was next.
Yeah, I think I was just feeling a little jaded. So Terry kind of hinted to it. My first product was a book about poop, and I'm actually a really smart lady. I have a master's degree in leadership. I've taught before. I've got that background. And after a few years, I just realized, and even Terry mentioned me working under someone, I'm no one's assistant. And also I'm a little smarter than, making poop jokes all day. So I went to the Thing, and I was really just looking for my next thing, right? Should I just keep pressing on with this RV travel blog? Or, what am I really meant to do? And being at the Thing was just so awesome. Just even opening my mind up to, other opportunities. There were, a couple of travel agents there. There were people, 6, 7 figure entrepreneurs there as well, podcasters. And it just kind of opened up my eyes to, you don't have to do one thing your whole life, because that was another theme that I saw is, oh, I used to do this, now I'm doing that, and I'm doing it successfully. And so it was really inspiring to go. And it probably took me another 6, 9 months to really say, okay, I'm going to put this RV thing down. But it really helped me, get in the wagon, so to speak, and get the ball rolling, knowing that it wasn't giving up to switch gears. It was, going from good to great.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I like to believe that the thing does for people is we plant the seed of possibility. You get to meet speakers who come from all walks of life. Whether that first year you were there was Rachel Peterson spoke. Here's Rachel with a membership that's making her millions of dollars, helping people do social media. And then the next speaker is Jonathan Lee Iverson, who used to be the ringmaster for Ringling Brothers Circus. And, they're both out here doing things that they love. And, and then obviously right after that event, several months after the event, the world kind of came to a screeching halt. And as the world was coming to a screeching halt, you were kind of rebuilding your life and starting all over and building something you loved.
Yeah, I got a pandemic divorce, as they're calling it on TikTok. I got out of the RV. I actually sold that RV travel blog, I think about 2 days before it was complete lockdown here in the United States. And so I was like, I got to sell this travel blog before, before things really go south. And then, a few months after that, I said, you know what, I really think I can go out on my own. I was feeling really confident. I had started to build this email marketing business. And so that's when I moved to Florida and things really started taking off. I created, services to help other people with copywriting and email marketing. Then I created a membership and, other offers and everything. That's when I really knew, to Terry's language, like I had found my thing, because everything just felt simple. Everything felt light. Everything felt exciting. And I was truly on, at the beginning of my journey of living the life that I really, really want. And now, fast forward 3-4 years, I don't know anybody whose life is better, honestly. Maybe I need new friends. I don't know, but I just love my life so much.
Yeah, and I've kind of encountered you at a couple of stops along, whether you were living in the beach in Destin and now you're living, you're basically living at Disney World now.
Right.
And, you've basically have decided, I was just in Las Vegas last week, which is not one of my favorite towns in the world, but obviously Las Vegas is known for people that place bets. And if there's anyone on earth that I know that has gone all in on themselves, it's you.
Oh, thank you.
It's one of my favorite things about you is like when you encounter Liz, whether it's through her website or through her showing up randomly on someone else's podcast like you are today, you never have to guess like what version of Liz is going to show up, because there isn't like another version of Liz. Is just Liz. She brings all her Lizness to whatever she does, and it's it's awesome to see somebody who has embraced who they are and they've made it their brand. And a lot of people try to build brands and try to build things that are like almost like personas or characters, and you are the opposite, where you've just been you.
Thank you. I think it helps a little that I'm a bit of a character naturally. So I will caveat with that privilege. I'm just naturally character based. But yeah, so y'all, this is actually my third business, right? The other two businesses, I wasn't as much fully myself. This is at the time we're speaking, I'm, 8 years in. And so I just found, shock and awe that the more I leaned into what Terry was saying, the more I leaned into myself and who Liz actually is, the more successful I became. Like the rumors are true. You know, we hear that all the time, and it can be really hard to believe because we see people out there super polished and super successful, and we want to be like that. But if you look a little closer, you see people like me, not polished, like rambling a little bit, hair out of place, crazy tops, whatever, only semi-pro, like being really successful too. And that's because, to Terry's point, I am just myself. So I invite you, if you're struggling with that, just look around. Not everyone is polished and done up, but the most successful people are just done up for themselves.
Yeah, I watched. We're recording this the day after the Grammys, and if we're being honest, the Grammys for like the last 10 years have been like kind of awful. It used to be my favorite day of the year, and now I kind of dread it because it's like, oh man, how are we going to dredge through, all of these artists and that nobody cares about? And I don't know who produced the show this year or like what they did, but it felt like that shifted this year. And one of the artists that really excelled this year was Miley Cyrus.
Oh, I love
Miley
her.
won a couple of Grammys, but it kind of felt like the first time I've seen, and literally, like, I live in a neighborhood that's zoned to the elementary school where Miley went to elementary school. Like, I used to go to church with Miley when she still lived in Nashville full time. And Miley finally just said, I'm going to be Miley. Mm-hmm. And y'all can either like it or not. And, like, and it was at that moment where, like, the whole world kind of jumped in and celebrated with her and her weirdness and her wackiness. And she wasn't running from anything because for the first part of her life, she was running from being in Hannah Montana and the character that, the brand that had been created for her. And it was really positive just to see somebody else really thrive in being who they were. And you could either like or not like Miley, but her performance was fire. She literally slammed the mic on the mic stand on the stage, walking off. Just like it was, just like, okay, this is someone that's finally stepped into their identity, and I think that's really the secret to success at 24 is really just being who you are and embracing it, and showing up authentically. And the kind of people that we're attracted to in business and in media are people who are who they are. And I think that's why, anytime I mention your name in our community, people are like, oh, Liz, I love Liz. And it's you're a cool girl. Sure. You're fun to be around with. Sure. But what the best thing about Liz is you just don't have to second guess how she's going to show up and who she's going to be. And so as the day we're releasing this, I think we can officially say this now. We're about to find out that you've been on this television show that I've known you were going to be on, not because of, like, I heard it leak in the press, but because I remember you telling me you wanted to do this a long time ago, and I was like, you know what? If anybody's going to be able to pull that off, if anyone's going to be able to put her mind to something and make it happen, Liz will. Is you're on the television show Survivor, and I'm sure you can't tell us a whole lot. Maybe tell us what you can.
Yeah, so yay! This is my first time publicly announcing it, and I can actually see as we're recording, the cast must have been released because my little Apple computer is telling me I have about 100 new text messages. So it must have been like, what a fun moment! What a fun moment to experience with Terry here. So yeah, I remember I applied and I told some people at the thing. And what I didn't tell them is that they had called me back about 15 minutes later. And so what we were talking about, to bring it like all center, talking about being yourself and seeing success in that, is, the audition process, they'll tell you this, like they're just looking for people that are just comfortable being themselves. And, they clearly saw that in me. And I think that's, something, if you watch the show or you're going to watch the show, you'll see that successful people tend to just be themselves. Anyone who's trying to lie too much, I mean, you gotta lie, it's Survivor, but anyone who's trying to lie about who they are, really has issues. And that is all I will say. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, baby. CBS.
yeah. I've not watched Survivor. My mother-in-law watched it when she was living here during the pandemic, but we've not watched it regularly since like the fifth season or sixth season. So I'm excited to get back in again.
Yeah. I'm so
and watch and
excited.
review on.
I'll say one thing, y'all. If you've got something in your gut that you know you're supposed to be doing, like, listen, I have known since I watched Survivor the very first time in the year 2000. I was like 10 or 11 years old. I watched it on a black and white TV in my room when my mom thought I was sleeping, okay? The one with the dial, okay? And I just knew, like, yeah, that's cool. There was something about it that attracted me. And, you likely have something like that in your life right now. And throughout the years, Survivor has always come back to me. In my times of need, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to watch that show. That helps me relax. I don't know. It's like a cutthroat game helps me relax. Anyway, I always knew, like, if I applied, I would get on. I just knew it. But it never felt like the right time. It was like, nope, I got to do this first. Nope, I got to lay this brick first. But last November 2022, there was something my daughter said, Mom, you should really apply. And I said, you know what? Now is the moment. I'm going to get on that show. And she said, I'll believe it when I see it, Mom, when I see you on the TV. And the next day, I applied. They called me 15 minutes later, and the rest is history. You'll have to stay tuned. I can't tell you what happens, but like the whole point is you've got to listen to your gut. I just always knew that this was the thing that I wanted, like, as part of my life. And now I have it. And it's so awesome when you really, tune out all the noise and tune into yourself. Like, it's amazing what guidance you actually already have within you.
Yeah, and you know what I love about this is I know even just hearing you talk about it that you've already won. I don't know the results of the show, but you've won because you chose yourself.
Amen.
You've won because you built a life that allowed you to go do that as an adult.
Amen.
And you've won because, we were talking about you this morning around the house, and I was like, the thing with Liz on Survivor that like is a little weird to me is when I first met Liz, I think she was a survivor. She was just getting by, and now I think of Liz and I think of someone that's thriving. I
Amen.
think of someone that's not just surviving a life, but is truly thriving at life. And it's been awesome to watch you actually activate that kind of primal urge in your life where you're just like, I'm not going to settle for anything less than is what's best for me. I'm going to thrive at this thing. Let's go. And you've chosen yourself, and like I've watched you go, you know what? I want to go see Will Smith in concert. I'm going to go see Will Smith. You've picked yourself, right? Like, and I know those things seem like really goofy things to people. But there's something powerful about, I think so much of life we're trained to like wait for the opportunity for someone else to give us permission to have the life we want. And it's so much better when we pick ourselves.
Yeah. I love that. Y'all, it just comes down to, maybe for you, for me especially, I was just tired of ... And not in any sort of angry way, but I just wanted the things that I wanted, and I was tired of giving myself excuses and tired of letting other people or my thoughts dictate what was actually reality. And I thought, I'm not an idiot. I don't have to be the smartest person in the room to be in the room. And once I realized that and decided, okay, this is my course of action, I just went for it. And here I am talking to Terry Weaver.
So So let's talk about the business side of this. How in the world have you built a business that allowed you to take off months of time? Um,
Yeah, I
in
took
fact,
90 days off consecutively in
yeah. In fact, David
2023.
Dollar, shout out to David Dollar Thing alumni, and apparently his shirt closet you've raided today, and he messaged me in the middle of the summer. He's like, I just have this hunch that Liz is filming Survivor right now. She's off. We haven't heard from her. I know she's done it. I just can't wait to root for her. And so,
Ah,
and that was literally like when you were gone doing it. And so,
yeah.
um, it's been fun. So how did you build? Like,
Yeah, this is
what did you do?
this is honestly just as exciting as being on TV. I'm telling you, because this is the stuff that matters. Like, you're listening, you might not ever go on TV, but like, what is it you want out of life, right? And how do you want to design your life? And that's something that for me, it was like I knew I wanted to be on Survivor, and I knew it was the right moment because I had designed my business around my life. And so, how the heck did I do it? Well, first, I do have a membership that gives me monthly recurring revenue. There's nothing sexier to a business owner than MRR, baby. I had created this very low responsibility membership. I don't have a high ticket thing. Nothing inside the membership involves me coaching or having like incredible support. Of course, I offer those things, but if I'm not available, it's not, a lack of fulfillment on my part. And so I had already created this membership, and I had been running it for almost 2 years at the time that I applied for Survivor. And so the second I applied and they called me, I knew it. Just like David Dollar knew it. Liz is in Fiji right now, Terry. Listen to me. I just knew that I was going to get on the show. So I immediately started really removing Liz Wilcox from the membership and the other areas of my business. So in order to do this, number one, I already had a part-time assistant, so she started helping me. And number two, I did hire a director of operations temporarily. She worked with us for about 5 months. And the first few months, the project was we need into an external brain. We need to get everything out of Liz's head that she's currently doing, that, even the things she doesn't even realize she's doing anymore. And we need to put that into a project management system. So, you know how when you used to have a real job and you'd get hired and they have like a manual, right? I haven't had a job since I was 20. So it was all very foreign to me. But basically, my company now has a manual. People can go, I could say, I don't want to work anymore tomorrow, and someone would be able to come in and just do everything. We update those processes to today. And after that project, we started working on removing Liz, started prepping the audience. I think this is the really interesting part. Prepping the audience, saying Liz is taking the summer off, lying to them, she's really tired, which I was, but I also was energized to go out and, play a reality TV competition game. And, she's not going to be here. So I think what you should hear here is that I was setting expectations. While, yes, I had this membership, at the time, the membership had over 3,000 members. My email list was probably at about 6,000 people. So a lot of people were starting to be in my audience and expect to see me on Facebook and on live calls and things like that. We just did a lot of setting expectations of this is now Patricia's job, my assistant. This is now Megan's taking over for the summer. That was the director of operations. And even introducing them individually to the email list, to the Facebook group, to the members. We had several calls with them just to get everyone comfortable. It's like the first day of kindergarten. You come in, you got to set expectations, the classroom rules. Your mommy's not going to be here anymore. That's a terrible analogy. I don't think of my people as kindergartners, but just that very basic setting expectations and just telling them what was to come so nothing was a surprise. We even changed my welcome sequence to say, hey, you just signed up for Liz Wilcox and Liz Wilcox won't be here till August. Here's who's instead. And because I have a very business to business, right? A very B2B thing going on. We also did some meta things where my director of operations and Patricia did a like summer school, and they did a couple ask me anythings talking about how we actually did this. But I think the main components to remember are just, downloading everything off my brain. And that, I mean, it took 90 days. And honestly, they were still working on it when I left. That's a project that will never be finished, right? And then prepping the audience, setting expectations, telling them what was to come. I think those two things were just, the major pillars of saying, sayonara, see you later.
Yeah. Awesome. And if you want to sign up for that email membership, I've created a URL, Liz email. So you can just go to lizemail.com and it goes straight to Liz's landing page, #affiliate link, where you can sign up and join Liz's email membership. Liz and I have, when I introduce Liz at the thing most of the time, I normally say, here's my friend Liz. She's going to talk about email. I hate getting emails, but she's going to teach you how to send them. And Liz has definitely sent emails that I don't hate. But let's talk a little bit about email and about how once again you infuse yourself in emails and you teach people how to talk in emails, not like a marketer, but like a human being.
Yeah. So Terry doesn't hate emails. He just needs to stop subscribing to people who suck at email
After
marketing.
You said that to me at the thing, I literally went for the rest of the year and unsubscribed from 5 things every day.
Oh, that's really smart.
So, like, every day I try to go through my inbox and unsubscribe, because if you buy anything, like, they sign you up for the list. So
Right.
every day I try to go through and
Super
unsubscribe.
smart. Right. And so just maybe we put a pin in this really quick. There are some, like, I call them the internet gods, like Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, who knows who else is in there. The internet gods are changing and are making new requirements so that people like Terry will be very much less overwhelmed over the next 6 months and have less spam and junk like that. They're really, basically everybody needs a driver's license to email now. So it's a good thing. But how do we send emails that Terry doesn't hate? How do we send emails that he opens, right? It really comes down to what he just said about being a real human. Listen, you're listening to this podcast. You know it better than anybody else out there. Like, connection matters. We need each other. Terry was the first person to tell me about this African proverb of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Talk to your audience like through that lens. Wow, that's when you get people to open your emails. And so instead of thinking, oh, I got to be this marketer, I got to join this marketing program, I wish I had an MBA, things like that, if you can just say, what can I get Terry to open today? What does Terry need to hear about my message that's going to make him open, despite the 100,000 other emails he has unread? What can I say just to him? And chances are there's a lot of Terrys in your audience, right? I don't write from the purpose or from the perspective of, oh, I got to make one sale today. I write, how can I serve Terry today? What can I say to Terry that's really going to help him with this mutual vision, right? My mutual vision for Terry is like, hey, I want you to make money with email. That's all I care about. I don't care about your podcast. I don't care about your YouTube. I don't care about this. I don't care about that. All I care about is email for you. And my subscribers know that. They know this is the vision we're working on together, is going to help you move towards that vision. And it's also just going to be from Liz to you, right? I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to serve you. And sometimes our products are the best way we can serve people, right? And so having that mindset shift is really going to help you, write emails that people want to read and that actually make sales for you.
And what's interesting, Liz, is when you do send an email that's selling, and every now and then you'll do, I think you did Lizmas this year where you shared some affiliate, products that you used and loved. You really were serving through that process. You were serving through selling because sales can be a service if you're truly trying to help and serve. It's amazing how much of a difference you can make in the world if you just care about people.
Amen. I
like,
mean, write that down, folks. I don't know if you're driving, pull over, write it down.
right? And I think that's the weird thing about 2024, right? Like the fact that we say that and it seems so foreign that you would just care about another human being, but I'm on every email list that Liz has, and I actually do read them all, whether it's to her affiliates or to her membership or just her random emails that she sends out on a regular basis to her email list. And I know that she's trying to help me. I know that she's trying to nudge me to do something that she thinks will help me. And even when she is offering something for sale, she's normally offering it at a ridiculous price, making it very affordable for people. And I remember when Liz told me how much she was going to charge for for her email membership, and I was like, "Are you insane?" And the answer was yes, but also you're brilliant because in fact, if people don't know this, I'd love for you to share, Liz, just why you did your membership the way that you did it, because I think I think what it does is it reminds us of having our values tied to our brand and having the things that matter to us, the things we care about, dictate how we build what we build.
Yeah, so I mentioned I have an education background, and the very first thing that I learned in my bachelor's degree was that everyone has a right to an education, and if you don't believe that, you shouldn't be an educator. So, either stay or walk out. And that's literally what the teacher said my very first class for this major. And I thought, whoa. I mean, yeah, I'm it. I believe that. Yeah, amen. And it's just something that's really carried over into my business. And this is another way you can get people behind your emails and get them reading and even buying from you is be very values led. Tell people your values. And this isn't spew your politics everywhere, but it's, there are certain principles that drive the way you do business. And when you share those, these really amazing things start to happen. So to Terry's question about, why my membership is just $9 a month, I believe everyone has a right to an education. And I believe email marketing is one of those things that it doesn't just change your business, it changes your life. And I believe that because it happened to me. Terry mentioned at the top of the hour, when I met Liz, she was kind of rough. She was working for some guy. She was living on a prayer and in a trailer, and so email has changed my life. Now, I look to my right, I have a backyard pool. I look to my left, I drive a 1989 Ford Bronco, my dream car, Eddie Bauer edition, rock on, let's go. And I know I couldn't have done that without harnessing the power of email marketing. And I want that for everyone who thinks that they need it too. And so that's why to Terry and, many mutual friends who thought I was insane, I said, you know what? You can think that, but this is what I know in my bones that I meant to teach and the price I meant to teach it at. The membership's actually turning 3 years old in about 9 or 10 days, and it's still $9. I'm so excited to offer it at that price still to this day, because I'm always showing up like we just talked about. Products are for serving, not for selling. I'm very values led, and I believe you have a right to an education. And this is one education piece you cannot miss.
Yeah, and I love that you've just brought yourself to even the part of the business where you start talking about how much is it going to cost. how you framed it for me when we first talked about it, because I think we were having lunch, and you're like, well, I remember me when I first started doing this, and I was broke as a joke, and I couldn't afford all the memberships or all the things that I wanted to learn, right? You told me that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted, you said this to me, and I'll never forget it. You said, I want to be there for the me that I never had. I want to be the somebody that can help somebody for this, what I didn't have access to.
Amen. And I still feel that way. And I know, as you listen, there's probably something that you feel that strongly about. And I hope you go for it.
Yeah, and I think what's exciting about watching someone chase something they want and go get it is it just hasn't been. I know at this point of the conversation, it sounds like for you that it's been a cakewalk, and I know that it hasn't been. I know that you've had some health challenges with allergies. I know that like you came to the thing and spoke at our Nashville event, and then like hit your head,
Yeah, I
and
fainted almost the two back to back things, y'all. Can I tell a story? So I went to the thing in Orlando. Um, well, first I hit my head. So I went to the thing in Nashville, whenever that was, about 2 years ago, 2022. And I went home, and it was the day I flew home. I fainted while standing, and I hit my head really hard, and I wasn't able to work for a while. And then I was invited back to the thing, 5 months later, and I spoke on something. And I actually have no memory of that weekend at all because I was still so like in post concussion syndrome. That's a real thing.
yeah,
And, that was June, that really started June 2022. And it hasn't really been until like November 2023. So even after playing Survivor, that I realized I still wasn't fully healed. And at this point, I'm off grains completely. I'm off sugar. I quit Mountain Dew. I never thought I would quit Mountain Dew in my life. I have like no grains, no processed oils, like nothing. But that's talk about choosing yourself. Like that's something I've had to do to get back to who Liz is and that authentic person that Terry introduced you to at the beginning of this show. And it's really just, it hasn't always been super easy for me. That's why I said monthly recurring revenue is the sexiest thing ever. Because if I didn't have that, I mean, yeah, going on Survivor, that was awesome. And I wouldn't have had it without my membership. But I wouldn't have been able to even attempt to take care of myself or attempt to keep the business afloat if I didn't have that membership, if I didn't lean into my values and how I wanted to serve and what price point I wanted to serve, no matter what anybody said.
yeah, and I think for you it's been just great to watch, even though there has been these difficult things that you've hit. Have had a group of people around you that have been able to support your dream and support your whether it's been hiring people or even your own sister, kind of picking up the slack for you, and you knew what you wanted, and then you went out and built what was required to actually achieve it, and that's a whole nother level. Is that so? Let's talk about email for a few minutes here because we'd be wrong to not help people
Yeah,
start
whatever.
with email.
Yeah, let's do
How
it.
do we start? How do we start? Let's just say we're sitting here. We have a list that like it's got a few people on it. We're not sure where to begin. Tell us where we should start with email.
Listen, I know email feels really difficult. So I just want to break down like the three components of email. And the first one is where you're going to start. So email really is just three things. Number one, it's a welcome sequence. When someone joins your email list, you have to welcome them. The same way when you started listening to this podcast episode, Terry said, hey, this is what we're going to talk about today. The intro played. He introduced me. He set expectations. That's what we have to do with our email marketing. We've got to welcome
how many
these
emails should
people.
that be, and how long? Like,
Yeah,
what should be
so
the frequency?
three or four emails. And you can go directly to lizwilcox.com. There's a hot pink button. You can get them already written for you. I've done this for you. But really, it just is going to showcase a little bit of personality. I share the 90s. Terry might share Disney, right? What's your personality? Very surface level. Guys, we're not getting into vulnerable stories, okay? That's not what I'm telling you. I'm just telling you to share some like surface level personality. You know, I mentioned I'm addicted to Mountain Dew. I still consider myself an addict, right? What's a little bit of just surface level personality? That vision we've already mentioned about 20 minutes ago. What is the vision you have for people? And those values. So put that in the welcome sequence. Personality, vision, and values. That way people know, like, yep, I got on the right bus today. This makes sense. This is in alignment. After the welcome sequence, you can put them directly into a newsletter. Now, weekly is a good rule of thumb, but if that makes you cringe, you don't have time for that, go with once a month. You know, you don't go into the gym and walk out with six-pack abs. You got to kind of build up to that, right? It's the same with your newsletters. Once a month to start, and then see what comes from that. And so within your newsletter, this is where you start to make those real connections, right? And so within your newsletter, just share things that show you are invested in that vision. Hey, I know I said I was going to help you with email marketing. Here's a podcast interview I just did that breaks down the welcome sequence. Watch it, right? That shows I'm invested in them. Number 2, relate to them. Become relatable. Share in a relatable way. And again, this isn't vulnerable storytelling. I don't actually like that in emails. This is, I was late running to pick up my kid. My dog, got out in the yard and I spent 2 hours looking for him. My refrigerator broke. Just little bits of your day, little personal updates that make you relatable. Are any of those things I just said interesting? No. Nobody's going to put you on a TV show doing those things, right? But they are incredibly relatable. Oh yeah, my fridge broke last month. That was a pain in the, oh yeah, that's exactly why I don't have dogs, Terry. You're relating to them. And then the last thing, so we said welcome sequence and then newsletters. And the last component of email marketing are your sales emails. I love you. I say this with love. No one's going to buy your thing if they don't know it exists. So you have to tell them. And the simplest way you can do this is to just put it in the PS. PS, when you're ready, here are ways we can work together. A, B, C. That's it.
Love it. Super simple. So I'm getting them on. I'm getting them on my email list. How often do you think, for someone that's just starting, like, do I have to email them every week? Is that required? Like, when should I be emailing them?
Yeah, I do recommend once a week. But again, start with once a month and work up to twice a month. Work up to once a week. And the reason why I say, work up to that weekly newsletter is because one of the things we've got to do, right? I shared, you got to invest, or you got to show you're invested. You got to share how relatable you are. The third part of that is you have to stay top of mind. Point blank, period. I don't know how else to say it, right? Like, I say it with love. You are not the only person doing what you do. The internet is noisy. Even if you have a local business like a travel agency, you're not the only one, right? When you bought your house or you're thinking about buying a house, what realtor do you go with? The guy that probably gave you his card last, or maybe you saw it on a billboard, or you saw, a TV ad for that guy, right? That's who you went with because he was top of mind. And so the reason why I say, please try to get up to that weekly newsletter at least twice a month is so you can stay top of mind. So that, when you share, hey, I'm invested in you, people really believe it because you keep showing up. You're top of mind. They keep seeing you invest into them. They keep seeing how relatable you are, and you stay top of mind. Like, raise your hand if you think anyone forgot about me while I was on Survivor. No one should be raising their hand, right? Because I stayed top of mind. Number one, I did those things. I showed how invested I was by sharing the entire process with them. Hey, I just hired this lady. I think I even told them I just spent $16,000 trying to figure this out so I could take time off. I was very relatable. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I need time off. That's incredibly relatable, right? And I stayed top of mind by batching some content. And like I mentioned earlier, I had my assistant and my director of operations do things while I was gone so that LizWilcox.com, email marketing membership were still top of mind when it came to solving their email problems.
Yeah, it was weird because you were gone, and we all knew you were gone, but yet the drum kept beating. The parade kept going down the street. It just wasn't. It wasn't always you. Sometimes it was you. Sometimes it was like, hey, I know I'm gone, but I wrote this for you before I left.
Right.
And,
I did.
right. And I think that's, and if you can't leave your business, and if you've created a business that you feel like you can't leave, you probably should just get a job anyways. Right?
Amen.
That's why we all created these businesses and these lives. You've created a prison sentence. Break the prison sentence. Get some help and learn how to create a business that you can take some time off from. And
start with an afternoon.
You might not even be as good as Liz at it. Like, Liz did a great job at it. If you're like me, when I take time off, I forget to do things. Things fall through the cracks.
I had a lot of help. So, let's not sell Terry Weaver too short. I did spend $16,000 to make sure, anything in the crevices was picked up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like building that business that allows you that freedom. It's like you did that work. You did the work of like building the business to the level that the business could support your actual desires and wishes. And, Liz, it's been so fun just to watch you pick yourself over and over and over again. And even when it was hard, even like you said, when you showed up and didn't remember showing up, you told me that in November that you had no memory of being at the thing the year before. And I was like, wow, okay then. But you did a great job.
I was pretty sick.
Yeah.
I was pretty sick. But I think, and maybe this is a good place, I don't know if you wanted to end it or what, but I think the real thing that I just want to get across is just intentionality. There's nothing that I'm doing willy-nilly. It might seem like that, but I think that's just my personality. But everything I'm doing is for a greater purpose, is for that time off. I have one daughter. I only want one kid. I'm only getting one shot, and I want to take that seriously. And so if that's true, then what does my business need to look like? If I'm having a hard time remembering what I did 48 hours ago, what do I need to do when I sit down at my computer today to make sure things are still running? And what can I just drop? And so I think, Terry keeps saying, oh, Liz is really good at choosing herself. And I think at the core of it, it's just remembering what I really, really want and what I need and being very intentional in my decision making to make sure that, I get to that thing.
Well, Liz, you obviously, we do have you share a love of boy bands, and I always talk about you just mentioned it, is what I call the Spice Girls rule. That, tell me what you want and what you really, really want. And when somebody isn't sure what they want, they're not able to run a successful business. They're not able to have a life. And you truly, we know what you want. You want time freedom. You want time to be able to skip a day in the office and just take your daughter to Disney World because you can. You want the freedom to be able to take a few months off in the summer. You want the freedom to be able to go and do things and to live where you want to live. And, that requires a lot of clarity. That requires a lot of intentionality and looking like it's, willy nilly. We know it's not. We know it's you being super intentional about a life that you've chosen and a business model that you've chosen that serves you. And so, maybe kind of as a closing question, you've been on the show before, so I won't ask you the normal questions we always end with. Like, what's next? What are you working on? Like, what's in the? Because you have been a great example to our community at the thing of evolution. Because when you first started this business, you were very service based. You were writing copy, you were helping people write their email sequences, you were writing people's bios. Then you shifted, obviously, to the email marketing membership. Like, what do you have in the cooker? What's coming down the pike?
Yeah, I'm so excited you asked this question because I think it'll be like, oh yeah, that's Liz. I'm going to get into licensing. So after 3 years, I have many, many templates, probably over 150 weekly newsletter templates written for probably over 50 different kinds of companies, brands, and industries. And so I am going to package up that magic and license it to larger companies. Think Active Campaign, MailChimp, and maybe even some really bigger, online entrepreneur programs, and also hoping to get into real estate associations and companies too. So
good for you.
Yeah, I'm
and
very
I don't doubt
excited.
that you're going to do it and be successful at it because
Thank you.
you've decided you're going to go after it and you're going to get it, and that's brilliant. I think that's a great, and that's what's interesting about the fact, the business that you've created really exists because all of the softwares that exist, like we all log into them, whatever you use, and I use ConvertKit. It's the one that I happen to like the most at the time. All of them you log into, and you're like, where do I begin? Like, it's always super overwhelming. So
Right.
they would be
Well, I'm
brilliant.
hoping to solve that problem. And yeah, it all stems back to that intentionality of like, okay, Liz, you want to scale to 7 figures. Your membership is growing, but you don't want to work any harder to grow it faster. What can we do to get you to 7 figures faster? And that's when I thought, oh, well, I should just sell these templates to large brands. That would probably be pretty simple. And it also sounds like a new creative thing for me. So I'm very excited about it. And, maybe one day I can come back and tell you all how it went.
And licensing is the most successful business to be in. The people that are really, really making money, they're licensing their, an example of someone like Guy Fieri, he's not opening businesses, he's licensing businesses. People are paying him to use his mug on their hot sauce or whatever.
Right. I am trademarking my name this year, so you never know, friends, where you might see me in a Target aisle one day.
Liz Wilcox, the flavor town of email.
Right. Thank you so much, Terry. This has been awesome. I can't wait to see what everybody does with email and beyond. This is awesome.
Well, guys, thank you for listening to today's episode. As I said, if you don't have Liz's email membership, a domain, go straight to it. Just go to lizemail.com. It's $9 a month. You're silly if you don't sign up for it. It's even on the months that I don't use it that month, I'll go back and look at it and find resources and tools in the program. She gives you basically everything you need to thrive in email. And Liz, thank you so much for coming on the show. Know that we are cheering for you not just to survive on a television show, but we are cheering on you as you continue to thrive in business and in life and as a business owner and as a mom. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time on the Making Elephants Fly podcast.